Michigan Out of Doors Online is brought to you in part by Mr. Muskie Charters, offering full-service guided fishing trips for walleye, muskie, bass, and sturgeon on Lake St. Clair and the Detroit and St. Clair rivers. Booking information is online at mrmuskiecharters.com.
Hey everyone, welcome to Michigan Out of Doors. I'm Jenny Olson and we have a fun show for you this week. I'm going to take you into an 8th grade science class to check out the Sturgeon in the Classroom program. It's a great way to get kids involved in our environment and our conservation issues here in our great state. But before we get to that, it is turkey season. Early season is upon us here in Michigan. And I'm still out chasing after my bird in the woods, but Jimmy and Jordan had some better luck this week.
Well, that's right, Jenny. We do have a couple pretty cool turkey hunts on this week's show from just a couple of days ago on the opener. I was able to get out with my son, Charlie, and Jordan was able to get out with his wife, Angela, and we have a couple good hunts for you. We're also going to have a wild game recipe on this week's show. Lots of good stuff on this week's program. You stay tuned. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger, and it's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan, Michigan out of doors. Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream, it's the love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Country Smokehouse. Offering a variety of meat products, Country Smokehouse is located 3 miles south of I-69 and M53, just south of Imlay City. Country Smokehouse is a meat processor, a butcher, and a destination for sportsmen. By AnglerQuest Pontoons, a mid-Michigan company building boats for fishermen by fishermen. AnglerQuest Pontoons are designed for comfort and functionality. On the web at anglerquestpontoons.com.
We all have one, that perfect spot, a special place we go to smooth out the ripples of the day. Our perfect spot is calling. Our perfect spot is pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
Michigan-based Vanguard has manufactured optics, hunting packs, and accessories for over 30 years. Discover all of our most recent innovations at vanguardworld.us.
Opening day was Monday of this week, and I was in the woods with my 13-year-old son, Charlie, hoping we could find him a bird. Joining us today was good friend Brandon Nutt, who was also running a camera. We had high hopes as the sun rose.
Well, that was our first setup of the day. We were in here really good. Brandon had this scouted out really well, and bird was right where he put it to bed last night. No other birds were in the area. We figured we had a lone tom, and he was gobbling his head off in the roost. And then, unbeknownst to us, maybe a couple 100 yards away, some hens lit up. Not really between us and him, but probably about the same distance as we were. And whatever they were saying, he liked a little bit more, and must have flew quite a ways through the woods because he was gobbling in the tree, and then a minute later he was a couple 100 yards away right with them. And we're going to kind of reposition and see what we can do. But opening morning of the early season, just getting started. Crisp, cool morning.
Well, our first spot was good with lots of gobbles, but we didn't have any luck. So we moved to a new spot where Brandon and I spotted a group of birds in the middle of a big field. Now, we were able to sneak into position and get a decoy on the edge and set up in some thick brush. Now our hope was to move these birds about 400 yards. Brandon has done some taping with us before over the years and is a great hunter and a good guy as well. He and I were sharing the cameraman role today in hopes of capturing what we needed. Charlie was set up with his 20-gauge Thompson center. Now we just had to try to move the birds our way. Well, that hen was about 5 paces away and was sure giving us an earful. Now, a lone longbeard had entered the field as well. And wouldn't you know, these 3 jakes were chasing him all over the field, almost to us at one point. And once they got him out of the field, it looked like they may come our way. We had been working these birds for at least an hour, and they were as close now as they had been. It was looking pretty good.
Too far to the right. Just wait. They'll come in to where you can see them. Not yet, they're still too far away. To separate a little bit. That one on the far right, can you get on him? How about the one in the middle? You can't get any of them. Just swing it a little bit more. So go ahead and move it. In the far right. Got it. Nice shot, buddy.
Now, you don't see this too often, but it does happen. Once a bird is down, the other birds will sometimes try to beat up the down bird and show their dominance. It was quite a good hunt. And I tell you what, for a dad to have this moment with his 13-year-old son, well, it doesn't get any better than this.
Well, hey, we had a successful hunt this morning. This is Charlie. He shot a bird, a couple years ago on the show. And 13-year-old hasn't shot a lot of birds. We were kind of looking for just a really good hunt today. And Brandon's been scouting these birds. He's running the camera. Thanks to Brandon for today. And, you just couldn't ask for much better of a hunt than this. Even though it's not a big longbeard, it's a nice jake. Gosh, we watched these birds for probably more than an hour. We called them in, they hung up, they left, they chased a longbeard around for a little while. There's hens all over, they came up close, squawking at us. Just a lot of activity, and then we called these birds, between Brandon and I, probably, gosh, I don't know, a quarter mile, if not more. Then they hung up, and then they'd leave, and then they hung up, and then they just finally got into about 25 yards. And I don't think they were gonna come any closer. What'd you think? Come on. But Charlie did a nice job. We were in some heavy brush and he couldn't swing the barrel very far, so he had to kind of back it up, move it over. We had the tom out as a decoy with a hen next to it. We had to kind of move the camera. It was a lot of moving around, but we got it done, opening day. And I thought long and hard about shooting that jake that was standing next to it, but I'm just not ready to be done hunting yet. So we're gonna keep going. First day of the season, but congratulations, buddy. That was a great shot.
Well, I hope you have plans to get to the woods this season. It's a place where friends and family can share in moments that they will never forget.
Well, it's the opening morning of the 2017 turkey season here in Michigan. We're headed out to a farm that we've hunted for years and years. There's quite a few birds out there. Unfortunately, last night we were hoping to find a bird roost where they normally do, and we didn't. At least we couldn't get one to gobble there. So we did hear some other birds gobbling last night. I've got my wife with me today. We're gonna go out and she's gonna try to get a turkey with a bow and arrow, but we've got the 20 gauges back up just in case. And I've got a tag, so if we get lucky, maybe I'll get to do a little hunting too. Beautiful weather, hoping for the best. It's gonna be a fun morning either way.
From the moment we left the truck, we could hear birds gobbling, and after a long hike in, we set up about 150 yards from the roost.
And they're pretty close.
Before we knew it, they were on the ground and working their way in.
They're still out there ways, aren't they, or no?
They're coming.
60 yards away. Hopefully they see the decoys and they come.
With barely enough camera light, we had 4 nice toms closing the distance, and before we knew it, they were within 10 yards of the blind.
Slowly draw back, go ahead. Yep, I know. Shoot him, hang on. Let him get out here. Okay. Are you gonna stop him? I'll try. Just stay still, stay still. Did you hit him? I thought I did. Stay still.
Well, after a little confusion between cameraman and hunter, we weren't sure exactly what had happened. Angela was confident she had made a good shot, but the turkeys didn't really react at all. Since we weren't sure exactly which time she had shot at afterwards, we decided to let the entire group walk off.
It's about 10 a.m. now. I shot at a bird a few hours ago. I felt really confident in the shot, but the bird didn't really react much, so it's kind of hard to tell. But the group was very responsive and they weren't spooked enough and they were staying close. So Jordan had a tag as well, so we tried to get the group to come back in, but they weren't having it. So after a few hours of sitting, we watched and waited for them to leave the field, and they did, but we noticed that there was only 3 birds leaving the field this time. So we're gonna go look at my arrow. I do see it laying over there. So this is a good sign. We got blood on the fletchings and we got some blood and some feathers on my arrow. So they walked out this way, so I think we're gonna try and see if we can find any type of trail. But with turkeys, if they're hurting, it can be very difficult to find them. So we're just gonna start walking very slowly because we're hoping if we do find them, we don't jump them. So hang tight, but this is a good sign.
After a fairly long track job and a good lesson in perseverance, we were able to find Angela's tom, her first with a bow and arrow.
So it's 11 o'clock and we found my turkey. Definitely made us work for this one for sure. It was quite a tracking job, but a little surprised it didn't react more to my arrow. I put it exactly where I thought it did, but it was a little back. So, but these are tough birds to kill, and it was definitely a hunt to remember though. My first one, my bow and arrow, so I'm really excited about that. And there's still a lot of season left for my husband to fill his tag, so we're gonna hit the woods again tonight, but definitely a great way to kick off the season.
For many years now, here in Michigan, school kids have had an opportunity to take part in a program called Salmon in the Classroom, where they're able to raise some young salmon and release them at the end of the school year into our Great Lakes system here in Michigan. Well, now we have a program called Sturgeon in the Classroom, and it's pretty exciting.
Here in Lake Orion and Oakland County, there's something pretty special happening at Walden Middle School. Mr. John Gray's 8th grade science class is raising a lake sturgeon to be released into the wild later this year. The Sturgeon in the Classroom program has been around for just a few years, and Mr. Gray's students love being a part of it in his exciting science class.
It's general science, but I've always kind of had a passion for environmental science, so I tend to do a lot more things that kind of angle to the environmental science end of it, so that's how I got into the Sturgeon in the Classroom here. Official name, educational display of a live lake sturgeon. And also the Salmon in the Classroom program, been doing that for 13, 14 years now. In some of the other DNR programs and some of the conservation programs, so I try to squeeze some of that messages in and make the kids aware of the environment and conservation and stuff like that. Knowing what a sturgeon is and being able to be that close to one has been a great experience for them. Pretty much every day I have to call kids up from the salmon tank and the sturgeon tank to sit down and start class because they just sit there and watch them. So it's just kind of neat to see them interact that way. But also a conservation message to them and a stewardship message that we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to protect the habitat and the environment for these fish. And so we talked about global climate change, global warming, and how that affects the sturgeon, and some of the other environmental issues that we try to bring in. And it's great to have that example right here in class, and they don't have to look at pictures or read something out of a book. They can actually see the actual fish. So
what are you guys up to today? What's happening here?
We're trying to hatch salmon eggs, as many as we can.
And what are you doing?
We're using this online game, and you basically have to adjust the shallowness and the amount of oxygen in the water and the pollution around it to get as many eggs out of a fish as you can.
Hey ladies.
Hi. Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Good. So I know you're working on stuff more with salmon today, but tell me a little bit about the sturgeon you have in your classroom.
The sturgeons, they have these in the classrooms now so kids can learn more about them. And our sturgeon has been with us since November?
For a few months.
I think November. November, yeah. And the sturgeons have been poached, and so there's programs trying to save them, and they're...
Cool. So, does that make you feel pretty good knowing you're making a difference with these guys?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, because they're going extinct and more and more are dying off.
Yeah, they're really cute.
Cool.
It's kind of cute.
Have you seen this one grow?
Yeah,
He's like that big.
He's grown a lot since. He's like a little.
What's that? He was that big when you got him? And
Yeah,
how big is he now?
Like big. Really long.
Cool.
And they can get bigger, which is like.
Oh yeah. Well, cool. Thank you.
The conservation-minded curriculum in this science class fits perfectly with the Sturgeon in the Classroom project.
Yeah, this is the 4th year that they've had it. Started out with just 6 teachers, 6 or 7, and then it's expanded a little bit, but definitely not to the level that salmon in the classroom is. I mean, it's just because of the fact that it's endangered and there's a little bit more, in getting the sturgeon to the classrooms. So it hasn't expanded as much as some of the other programs, but it's still a great program, and I've enjoyed doing it the last 4 years, and hopefully I can continue to do it.
Mr. Gray's class has done a great job caring for the young sturgeon they've had in their classes the last 4 years. Jeremy Guck from Sturgeon for Tomorrow says that's pretty important.
Currently, there's 8 schools in the state of Michigan participating in the Sturgeon in the Classroom program. 4 of those are here in southeast Michigan that we, the St. Clair Detroit River chapter of Sturgeon Tomorrow, are working with. Sturgeon populations are way down from their historical levels, commercial fishing, pollution, all those normal causes that have hurt a lot of nature have contributed to the decline in sturgeon. But they do seem to be making a comeback, and I think programs like this will help continue that for future generations to enjoy.
John Gray is doing his part to help ensure our future generations have a knowledge of our environmental and conservation issues here in Michigan. John is recognized by many conservation organizations for his contribution to such an important issue.
We do a few different things. Been involved with the National Wild Turkey Federation, so I'm a member. And they have a patch contest every year where they design the cooperator patch for the wild turkey. And it's a cooperative effort between the DNR and the National Wild Turkey Federation. And so I've had my kids submit designs for the contest that they have every year. And I've been fortunate enough to have 8 of my students actually design the patch or be the basis for the design for the patch over the years. So we do that, and then I got involved through Safari Club International. I'm also a member of that, and I got involved with Mark Borson. He does a wildlife biologist up out of Roscommon, and he does the surrogate sow program. So they tag bears and keep track of them, and then they can put orphan bears with them. And so the last few years I've been fortunate enough to take some students up to a bear den check and get a chance for them to hold the cubs while they're checking the mother bear, and that's been kind of a neat opportunity for them as well. So.
This Sturgeon in the Classroom is just one of many great opportunities John Gray's students have had the privilege of taking part in. And while it's so exciting to see it all, Jeremy wishes these programs had been around just a little longer.
I'm so jealous when I wish I had these opportunities having sturgeon in my classroom when I was in school, but it's a great way to get kids direct interaction, hands-on education. Instead of just reading about something in a textbook or online, they get to see and sometimes touch and take care of this really interesting fish that will grow up to be the largest and oldest living fish that we have in the Great Lakes. So I think that really helps develop an interest in our environment, and that's something we should all be interested in protecting. Because if the fish that live in the water that we drink and that we use to take care of our land, if they're doing well, we should be doing well too.
And it looks like the future of our conservation heritage is alive and well here in Lake Orion. It's teachers like John Gray and organizations like Sturgeon for Tomorrow who make these memorable moments in education come to life and live on here in Michigan's Out of Doors.
All right, well, we are here at Antlers Fireside Grill, Canadian Lakes. We're here with Jim Wood again, and we're going to try something I don't know if I've ever even heard of. This is a venison dish, but explain kind of what we're doing here, Jim.
This is a venison loin eggs Benedict with a Michigan cherry hollandaise sauce.
Wow. And so if you know anything about eggs Benedict, a pretty decadent, pretty rich,
very French
dish. And
yes.
how we're going to incorporate the venison into this, and how do we get started with this?
Well, the venison is obviously going to take the place of the Canadian bacon. And
okay.
So in order to kind of give it that Canadian bacon feel, we brined it in Michigan maple syrup, salt, water, and some fresh herbs for 3 hours, and we smoked it for about 10 minutes. And you can either finish it on the grill or you can finish it in the pan. We're going to do it in the pan today.
Okay.
You don't have to do that process if you don't want to. If you just
Okay.
want to simply cook your venison loin,
that'd be fine.
I'm not at your house, so I'm not going to judge you.
Well, good. So how do we start? Well, as you can see, Jim is a lot of fun to cook with. Now, this is a very delicate recipe when it comes to the sauce. It's going to take a fair amount of time, and you are going to need a partner. You're going to use a bowl of boiling water as your heat source. And you're going to take your eggs, and you're going to be whisking them constantly as you have someone gently pour in a little bit of butter at a time. You want to try to get this sauce to about the consistency of pudding, and at that point, you're ready to move on.
All right, so we're almost done with this sauce. It needs to get a little more acid, so we're going to give it some fresh lemon juice. And we're going to stir in our Michigan cherries.
So at this point, your sauce is pretty much done. Now, Jim did like to taste it as he went and add a little bit of salt here and there. Now, what you're going to want to do now is go ahead and get your venison loin grilling. You can either do this on the grill or you can do it in a pan like we were doing here. And at that point, you're going to also want to get your eggs poaching. Take the boiling water that you were using as the heat source for your sauce. Go ahead and add in a couple of eggs. This only takes a couple minutes to poach these eggs. And then you're going to take your venison loin, thinly slice it, and again, it's taking the place of the Canadian bacon. And at this point, you're ready to start plating your dish. And I was very excited to see how this was all going to come together.
You're just going to drizzle that right over the top.
Wow.
And this is venison loin eggs Benedict with a Michigan cherry hollandaise.
Well, I have to say this dish was very good, something I would never even consider when it comes to venison loin. And if you have any left, you may want to give this a try. For the full recipe, you can go ahead and check it out on our website.
Thanks for joining us this week for Michigan Out of Doors. Make sure you check us out online next time you get a chance. You can do it a couple of different ways on our website at michiganoutofdoorstv.com or on our Facebook page at Michigan Out of Doors TV. We're on Facebook every few days letting you know where we are and where we're headed next. And speaking of where we're headed next, we've got a lot of fun in store for you here this spring on Michigan Out of Doors.
Well, we do have a lot of good stuff coming over the next several weeks. Of course, we'll be in the turkey woods pretty much every week. Now, I don't know if we'll have a hunt on every week. You never know how that's going to go, but I have a tag in my pocket. Jordan does as well. We'll see how we do over the next few days and the next few weeks. We're also going to have that story I mentioned on last week's program. This past weekend, I got out for a bass boat versus bass kayaking tournament. You won't want to miss that on next week's show. Lots of good stuff coming over the next several weeks. There's so much good fishing around the state right now. What a great time of the year to be a sportsman here in the state of Michigan. Hey, if we don't see you in the woods or on the water, hopefully we'll see you right back here next week on your PBS station.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Greenstone Farm Credit Services, making recreational land ownership possible across Michigan and northeast Wisconsin. Begin your land financing journey at one of Greenstone's 37 locations or visit greenstonefcs.com. By the Michigan Wildlife Council, entrusted with educating the public on how wildlife in Michigan's outdoors are managed and funded for the use and enjoyment of future generations. Visit mioutdoors.org to learn more. By the Michigan chapters of Safari Club International. For over 40 years, SCI has been protecting hunters' rights and promoting wildlife conservation here in Michigan and around the world. SCI chapter locations can be found on the web at firstformichigan.org. By Pictured Rocks Boat Cruises of Munising, exploring Lake Superior's Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. With its sandstone cliffs, caves, waterfalls, and lighthouses, Pictured Rocks Boat Cruises on the web at picturedrocks.com. Closed captioning provided by Marvo Mineral, makers of Lucky Buck, deer management products including minerals to supplement deer diets year-round to improve health and antler growth.
When I wander far away, a dream stays with me night and day. It's the road that leads to my home state. I am a Michigan man. Changing seasons paint the scene like rainbow